The fans of the hit 70s TV show Sanford and Son all know and love Fred Sanford.
That looks hip, Pop. That looks real hip.
Yeah, it looked pretty good.
Fred is a man of many words, most of them funny.
Yeah, if you don't tell me when to raise my voice, I ain't take no stuff off my first wife, and I ain't gonna take none off you either.
Fred Sanford's popularity is still strong, and he has remained relevant over 50 years after making his television debut. In 2014, Fred made TV Guide's Top 50 Dads in TV History, showing his influence to many other dads down the line. But when you think about it, why? Why is Fred Sanford so loved to this day? What is it about him that continues to bring us back to his junkyard? Well, one reason, maybe the biggest in fact, he feels real. He doesn't feel like a TV character, he feels like someone we can relate to.
We'd be so grand at the game, so carefree together.
He feels like he can be our next door neighbor. Plus, he's very blunt and honest.
Person talking, or is this a machine? Well, good, because this is a person talking too.
So today we are going to explore what gave Fred Sanford that authentic feel. Here's a clue. Red Fox. What's in a name? Well, with the name Fred Sanford, everything. Red Fox, whose birth name is John Elroy Sanford, had his fair share of the name Fred G. Sanford in his life. Red's father's name was Fred Glenn Sanford. Freddie, as he was known, served in the Army in World War I. At the age of 8, Red's father left the family, leaving his mother to raise them. Red also had a brother named Fred Glenn Sanford Jr., and he was a positive influence on Red. So when the show idea came around for Red, his brother who had passed away earlier, Red made sure to let the producers know he would like to name the main character after his brother, Fred G. Sanford.
Now, you're Fred Sanford.
Who's he?
Sanford and Son was born, and the name Fred G. Sanford would go on to be remembered for many years after and still counting. The real Fred Sanford would be proud. Quick, what's the first thing you think of when you hear Fred Sanford?
Fred Sanford. That's S-A-N-F-O-R-D, period.
No, not that. The other thing.
You hear that, Elizabeth? I'm coming to join you, honey. Rich.
Fred's fake heart attack was so funny that when the show was testing in front of the All in the Family cast, they said they had to keep that routine in. It's what sold the show. But the question is, who came up with that historical gag? A writer? Maybe a producer? Nope, it was Red Fox. Red once again put some of his personal touch on the Fred Sanford character. But who would cause Red to think of the fake heart attack routine? None other than his own mother, Mary Sanford Carson. Red even said in an interview himself that he had added the heart attack routine because his mother would do the same thing. She would drastically exaggerate an illness to keep the kids in line, something Fred did very often. Any friend to Red is a friend to Fred. Most shows, on-screen friends are just that, on screen. There are rare exceptions, other than someone like The Andy Griffith Show with Don Knotts. But most times, they were just co-workers and cast members who were buddies on the set. But one thing Red Fox and other great comedians love to do is to be spontaneous and improvise some lines. It gives that natural feel to it. Well, who better to work with than actual friends who all had those abilities? Red Fox had a bus full of comical friends that could and would make impactful appearances on the show. LaWanda Page, a friend since grade school, would be the biggest impact in series history.
It's not that we don't want to toast you. We just want to get to know you a little better. Right, ladies? Right.
Red had that vision to see how much LaWanda would be cherished by the fans. Another actual friend, the first to be exact, Melvin Slappy White.
See, a man like to believe that's him in the ring winning, and a woman like to believe that's her husband there losing.
Appearing in just 6 episodes, Melvin left a lasting impact and was a fan favorite. Red had worked with Slappy for years as a comedy duo. Bubba, Leroy, and Skillet were among other comedians that had worked well with Red for many years.
Hey, Fred, you out of scotch?
You out of your mind. I had a whole bottle of scotch.
Huh?
I had a whole bottle of scotch in that cabinet.
That's what I'm saying. You had a whole bottle, but now you out.
The chemistry of the cast was one of the main reasons the show was so loved, not to mention the characters as well, and Red was responsible for some of the best. Another fun fact, Pat Morita's character Achu. He was a good friend who worked with Red, even opened for him in the comedy shows. He was brought in by Red because he knew Pat would find major success. Red truly was a great visionary and friend. It always causes one to wonder, what would the cast have looked like without Red Foxx? One character we hear about almost as much as Fred and Lamont, none other than Elizabeth. Fred always finds a way to bring her up, nearly every episode, while Esther even talks about her now and then. But if you look real close, we do get a rare glimpse of Elizabeth in Season 2, Home Sweet Home for the Aged. In the photo, she appears to be a lovely lady. We would all eventually go on to learn that the woman in the photo was none other than Betty Jean Harris. If the name sounds familiar, yes, it was Red Foxx's wife at the time. Once again, Red added his personal touch on Fred. So we got a picture of her, and Red even found a way to get her name in the show.
Betty Jean, I'd like you to meet Fred Sanford and his son, Lamont. Hello, everybody.
So in Season 2, the episode The Dowry, we actually meet Betty Jean. And much sooner than that, in Season 1, we met Donna Harris, adding to all three of her names in the show. Betty Jean Harris. Ironically, Donna Harris was Fred's fiancée. And I'd like to give credit to where credit is due. It's a point brought up by one of our viewers named Todd Fowler 4017. Thanks, Todd. A final example, where did Fred come from? Same place as Red. The good old state of Missouri. St. Louis to be exact.
Fly jacket to St. Louis. But I guess we'll fly you, Carol.
In fact, it's such a big deal, they actually have a whole episode where they fly out to St. Louis in the episode called Superflyer. So there you go. Those are just some of the prime examples, and there's many more out there of how Red was such a gigantic influence on Fred G. Sanford. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching. If you stayed to the end, leave a like, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe today.